Morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning.
Right. Good morning, team.
Morning, Sammy.
Hey, Raj.
Morning, Giri. Morning, Christian. I thought I saw Christian. Christian, yeah, you there.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Christian. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for
Hey.
joining.
So give a couple of more minutes.
Yeah, I'm expecting Brentford.
Yeah. Do we have any opens before we get started today?
The only open that I have is on the panel discussion, but
I put a slide for us for the discussion today. We'll go through that.
Okay.
Any other opens?
Would like to know, Christian, are you planning to attend the OCP OSF in October in San Jose?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, fantastic. By the way, Christian, I won't be able to attend the OSFC. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, what a pity. You couldn't find any budget for that?
Yeah.
Or was it food or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, never mind. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. Yeah, submitted for budget. We'll see.
Okay.
Okay. If no other opens, a couple of things. So we like the presentations draft submission due on 26th of this month. I hope all of you working on it and get it ready. And let me know if any discussions around that need to happen. We could probably host it next week in the Epic call.
Okay. Yeah. I'm probably, I'm just still gonna be eager to find out, why the other AMI and my presentation the joint presentation were rejected. I thought they were on the brink of being approved, but if you can find that out, Sammy, that'll be great.
I will. I need to sync up with Neil and Don V. On that. I know, like I voted, and after that, I went on vacation. And, there were some discussions going on after that, and I didn't have a chance to sync up with them. Let me sync up with them and get back to you, Raj.
That'd be great. Thank you, sir. Hey, Ian. I know I had a email exchange with Bertrand. Can you ping him to see if he's going to be able to make it for this meeting today?
Sure. I don't know if he's actually invited to this meeting, so let me see.
I forwarded the invite to him yesterday.
Okay. Any other opens? If not, I want to do a quick check on the presentations. Want to make sure that we don't have any rearrangement needed. So what we're going to have is OPF, or we should change the name here. Open Platform Firmware project update and future directions. Then we are going through all the remaining presentations, and at the end, not at the end, in the middle, we are going to have a panel. Then we are closing with a couple of additional presentations here. Just want to make sure there's any rearrangement need to be done, or we are okay with the.
Yeah, I think we are okay with it. Is there a list of those presentations coming from the OPF?
Yeah, so that I'm sharing it. Do you guys see it?
Oh, you are? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, I wasn't. Okay. So this is
on a Thursday.
Update and future directions. Okay.
Yeah, last day we are starting from 12:30 and it goes all the way to 4 o'clock.
Okay.
The way we arranged is the first presentation is the project update. And we have some remaining presentation, and we have panel in the middle and a couple of more presentation at the end to close.
Right.
And we had, I believe, about 16 presentations submitted, and we got about only 10 slots. So we were trying to combine as much as possible to accommodate, except we were not able to accommodate a couple of presentations there.
Hey, Sammy, I had a question about one of the submissions whenever there is a slot.
Go ahead.
Hey, so we had submitted Project Mu essentially for the submission, and I understand there were some questions that the committee wanted to understand. Is there something we can help out with, answer those?
So is that got rejected, or you got questions that we didn't get?
So it got rejected, and DJ helped sort of facilitate some rationales, and he asked us to join this meeting to see if there are any questions raised or concerns. So that's why I'm joining to sort of understand this.
Can you remind me what is the presentation name?
Yeah, so essentially the name of the presentation was Pioneering UFI Innovation in Azure Server Fleet with Project Mu. I think the submission ID was 5828.
Let me go back and check what commands it was made.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I believe when we were trying to combine, we got there were two presentations were put in waitlist. If any one of these things does not go through, or once you get the draft submissions, if it does not make the cut, then we were trying to do the two more. So let me go back and check on the final list and get back to you on that.
Thank you. And there was also, I think he mentioned that there may be an opportunity to have like recorded videos available as well. If that's a possibility, would be interested in knowing that as well.
Recorded video after the.
Yeah, so essentially in parallel through the work streams, like publishing some videos, pre-recorded videos or something. He was saying because there were a lot of submissions, there may be an opportunity for this. So just wanted to see if that's something we can explore as well.
So you mean like without presenting it, you have the video available for
correct for people to understand it and see it.
Yeah, so I think if we can bring in present it in one of the our OPF calls, then all the OPF things getting recorded, so you could able to see that presentations for others to see it.
Awesome. So then we can keep that as a backup option. Cool.
Correct.
Thank you, Sammy. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Sammy, Bertrand just joined a few minutes ago.
Okay. Yeah, then let me go through the panel one. Let me bring up the panel slide I put together. I guess I will see the slide.
Yep.
So this is not in the format for panel. I think the panel we're going to have the names and the photos. Please send us the photos, then I will integrate with the new format. I send a note to Kate to give the panel template. But for today's discussion, I think we do need to kind of organize on how do we want to get the panel started and what we want to discuss. And given we have time, we don't need to submit the panel presentation as a draft. And generally, they don't require a draft for a panel. But given what we are kind of thinking is maybe we should open with 1 or 2 slides to start the discussion. Then we can have the panel discussions there. And if you look at the panel time, we have about like total of let me look at it. It's 20 plus 20, 40, 45 minutes we have total for the panel.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's awesome.
I'm just looking at the online here, like it's 40 minutes. We have a
Right.
panel, but I don't know, there's a break in between. But the panel says 2:45 to 3:20. And if there is a break in between, normally like 3 o'clock, if they are going to have a break, then we need to consider that.
Right. Then I think we can prepare a much elaborate set of slides, present it, and then have, let's say, about 30 minutes of panel discussion after that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
So what we would like to do is first we want to have an intro for the panel, just a quick intro for everyone on the panel list. And after that, what I was kind of thinking is I'm looking for feedback from the team, right? If you look at the panel title is Overcoming Industry Challenges in at-scale system firmware life cycle, right? So then I believe it'll be good to have a life cycle, maybe even a picture rather than text, to kind of say what is the current life cycle in the at-scale deployment. Having a slide 1 or 2 to kind of get started, then kind of opening up for the challenges might be good. And what do you guys think on that?
Yep.
On the life cycle side, are we okay with the platform firmware development, integration, validation, deployment, security, and telemetry root cause and updates? It's kind of thinking like this is kind of general flow, but is there anything more we want to kind of add here?
Yeah, I think what is missing from this list is the platform design itself, right? So
Before development, you
there's a
want to have a
platform,
design, right?
yeah, before the platform development, platform design.
Yes, hi everyone, this is Bertrand. It looks very good. The only concern I have is that Google has a pretty strict policy in terms of reviewing external interventions. So from my perspective, at least for my intervention, it would be good to try to do as much content as possible within the slide so I can get the necessary approvals and don't have to worry about winging it or improvising essentially. I would be able, of course, to participate in a panel discussion, but The normal process that we have at Google is really to get a review of the content first and then present that content. So that's something that we should look into, at least as far as my side is concerned. I may have to stay a bit more silent during the open panel discussion. I don't think I will be able to necessarily answer if we have a lot of questions from the public, particularly pertaining to the practices of Google. But yeah, I'll do my best, obviously, to be active and interesting to the audience.
Yeah, I think, Bertrand, if there is a question from the audience that is specifically targeting Google, which is you, and if you choose that, if it falls within the bucket of confidentiality, then you can most certainly state that, and then you can ask one of the others to follow up on that response, and we can wing it that way. Not on behalf of Google, but in general, right?
Yeah, that looks fantastic. Yeah, I agree. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing we could do in preparation, one thing we could do in preparation is maybe make a list of the topics we anticipate to discuss. Make a few paragraphs. It doesn't have to be as part of the slides, but just so that we have some content also. Because I've been in some panel discussion where the presenters were completely improvising, and it was not that great from an audience perspective. So I just want to make sure also that we have some interesting things to say. Maybe we can prepare a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I think that preparation will need to be done. As far as the preparation for the Q&A and whatnot is concerned, that is definitely we can prefetch that, and we do have time for that right after the presentation deadlines and whatnot. But I think we can start those type of discussions outside of this meeting as well. Sami, I'm not sure how we could wing that up outside of this meeting. That way it is only focusing on the folks that are involved in the panel discussion, like the four of us plus you.
Yeah, so what I was kind of thinking is like we can put some number for how many minutes you want to spend on this one, right? My thinking is, yeah, panel intro and subject intro. That's what I was kind of thinking, a life cycle intro. Then the panel discussion itself, we will prepare some Q&A. But I would like to kind of ask as a moderator to kind of say what are the different areas that we want to touch on it, right? Once with this is kind of pre-selected questions you can think of, right?
Yes.
Only thing is you may have some questions based on answers. You may have some follow-up questions on that, right?
Right.
And after that, you want to kind of open up for audience to ask the questions, because we don't want to kind of only presentation where pre-selected questions, right? If we have audience have additional questions, we want to accommodate that.
Right.
And we want to do a wrap up. Wrap up is not like on the panel. Is there any actions need to be done, or what are the actions that we need to kind of summarize it, right?
Okay.
That's what I'm kind of thinking.
Like a call to action.
Right. Yeah, call to action here, right?
Okay.
And summary of discussion, call to action, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I do have. I did send you, and I'm not sure if you looked at it, but I did send you a list of possible Q&As. It wasn't an exhaustive list. I think there were possibly 6 or 7 questions, and the responses to that, general canned responses and whatnot. But we should definitely take that into consideration and add to that list to make it even more well-rounded set of questions.
Yeah, I think what we will do is let's schedule. We have a little bit of time from now to
October.
the global summit, right?
Mhm.
So what we do is let's probably schedule a couple of sessions or 2 or 3 sessions for us
Mhm.
to kind of think up and create a list of questions.
Mhm.
I didn't have a chance to kind of process your mail it, Raj. I'm going to do it probably this week and next week,
Okay.
and send you a response to that your email.
Okay.
Again, if you let us probably create at least mail list now with the people here in this list, so that we can kind of go around some of the questions, things, right?
Right. So
Eventually,
perhaps,
what I was,
yeah, go ahead, please.
good. Eventually, what we would like to have is at least about at least 5 or 6 really big questions that will come out as a call to actions to kind of follow up, right? Think about like, hey, if I think I just put few items here. This is not my exhaustive list. What are the challenges in silicon integration? Do we have a consistency between the silicon and platform vendors, right? What standards need to be driven? And what are the challenges in integration or the tool set? We can expand on it, right? If you look at some of our previous discussions, you can think of a summary of the things that we want to kind of highlight it here, right? The question is going to be along this line, right? To get this topic started on the discussion, right?
Agree.
Go ahead, you want to say something, Rod?
Yeah, what I wanted to say was that why don't I today why don't I send the list of questions that I sent to you to this team with the four of us, between the 4 of us and you, so total 5 people. So I'll send the list of those questions and answers, and then we can I'd like to invite all the other 4 as well, or the other 3, I think. Christian, Srini, and Bertrand as well, and you, of course, to add to that list, right? And then we can have a comprehensive list of questions that we can discuss in the focused meeting that you're going to schedule.
Right. So we are kind of looking for questions, not answers, right? The answer we are expecting from each of you kind of formulate, right?
Yes, but it would be good to have the upfront the responses as well, so that we know that there is alignment.
We want to get.
I'm not entirely sure if we get entire. I'm not sure if we get alignment entirely across the board on every question, right?
Not in every question, but a general alignment.
That's part of the fun, I guess, right?
That's part of the fun. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Okay, if you guys just want me to, if you just want me to send a list of questions and not the responses, that is fine as well.
Response is also fine with me. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, we can just take
tell you what. I'll send my my thoughts, and then you can follow it up with whatever your questions, and if you want to answer it, that's fine. If not, just keep that as a question.
Yeah.
If there is controversy, right, we do need to understand why that controversy is there, right?
Yeah.
That way, at least we can figure out how do we work through that to be create an alignment there, right?
Right.
Any comments or any additional things from others?
Srini or Bertrand, thoughts?
That looks good.
No, good.
Yeah, good. It's my first collaboration with you guys, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. All right, that sounds like a plan then.
So Raj, as you said, right, we have to meet outside to finalize what and all things that we want to talk about. This 5-6 topics that has been identified. We need to be.
Yeah, this is not a trust.
Meeting,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you give up probably like I think Raj, you are traveling, right? So do we
Yeah,
have
I'm traveling. So
when do we want to kind of think next time? Maybe let us fix a date now since all of you are here.
So when is the OCP? Is that the first week of October?
Yeah, OCP is 15th, 16th, 17th.
15th,
Okay.
15th, 17th, mid-October.
14 is a Monday, but actual OCP is 15th, 16th,
Okay.
17th.
So let's start with the email first. I'll send the email. You can pile on to that, and then perhaps somewhere toward the beginning of September timeframe or second week of September, we can have our first meeting.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Second. Okay. Does that sound right, Sammy?
Yeah, that's
You okay
sounds
with that?
fine. I think we have time, like I said, right?
Yeah.
But we do need to start thinking about it so that we have enough content there, right?
Right. Yeah, the email the email exchanges, I think they can start right away, and we can but as far as the meeting is concerned, I do want to give people a chance to start thinking about it in those terms, and formulating what they have in mind and what they want to say, what are the questions that they feel comfortable responding to and whatnot.
Correct. And also like if any topics that we are missing, right? It'll be good to have a list so that at least we can try to cover all the topics that we want to cover there, right?
That is right.
One of the things I didn't really put any chiplets or anything here or any additional work streams or anything that we want to address. I think we should start thinking about that too, right?
Or chiplets could be something that we could target as a panel discussion for 2025, the regional summit. I don't know.
Yeah, that is there another opportunity there, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any additional comments or anything either on the presentations or on the panel here?
Yeah, just I think it's a pretty vast area of discussion that we have, which is good. But it also leaves a lot of opens in terms of what we will focus on, because even in 45 minutes, I mean, we could spend 45 minutes on any of these topics. So I think maybe we could discuss together what is our intention in terms of this talk, and what is the message we want to give, because otherwise we could easily just get sucked into one of these and just talk about one thing, and maybe the audience will be frustrated if they expected more or something like that. So that's something to consider, I think.
Yeah, Bertrand, you're absolutely right. I mean, you cannot take all these and discuss all of these at length, right? I mean, each one of them is a huge topic. So what I'd like to see is that since we are firmware focused, right, in the OPF or OSF, since we are firmware focused, I would pick the integration, the firmware integration part for the platform development, right, or platform firmware development. That part, I would like to pick that up and focus on that one huge topic, and also to talk about a little bit on the others as well. But the main, the center of the topic, the front, so that should be front and center, I think should be something that we are focused on as a project under OCP. Which is open platform firmware.
Yeah, I think at the end, regardless of which items that we want to take and kind of go in length, we really need to identify actionable items that that can be driven and can be get accomplished, right?
Right.
We can identify a lot of items, but if we are not able to work on it, then it's not going anywhere, right?
Right. Agree. There has to be call to actions that we can recommend, and a few of us we take on the reins to work on that,
right,
and resolve that from a problem statement perspective. Right. We should be able to come up with with a prompt statement, something that is hurting the industry, right? And come up with a solution for that. And then we then work through the OSF or the OPF, and we come up with a solution that we can then present it perhaps in the following regional summit, right? So we talk about things in the global, and we submit a solution in the regional summit next year.
So list up action item. And what else you want? And who's working on it? Who's going to work on it? Right?
The who's who. Yeah. Hey, thank you very much, Bertrand.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time and attendance. Appreciate it.
Good, thank you. Do you want to move on to the next topic?
Yep.
Next one, what I was kind of thinking is basically it's related to the, given we kind of forming as open platform firmware, thinking here is we do need to start identifying next set of work streams. What I'm looking for is obviously open system firmware is probably one work stream under the OPF. What other work streams you want to kind of start putting together? Or even if you take open system firmware, if you want to work on a silicon initiation, probably separate work stream underneath, right? So basically, like, what are the different work streams that we start thinking about it? That's the question I'm asking. Under OPF.
So, Sammy, more like how do we break down the topics further? Like,
correct.
Like things like chiplets, for example, chiplet firmwares, standardizing firmwares, interface firmwares for chiplets.
Yeah, one is chiplets, and again, I was hoping if you're going to work on silicon firmware initialization, that could be a separate one, or you can have a standard, any standard based things that need to integration can be another thing, right? However we want to break it out, right? First, I think we do need to identify what are the major work streams under OPF. Then probably we need to identify some leads under that so that we know, like, people can spend time and drive that, and who's going to be really like an active participant on that, right?
Yeah, chiplets is a good topic, but the other one is also like the silicon firmware, right? Whether it is producing versus consuming both, right? How we standardize or what needs to be standardized, right? That could be another work stream.
Yeah, Giri, I think that is a great potential, and I totally agree with it. But or at the same time, I think if the panel discussion, if the panel discussion steers in the right direction, then I think the call to action would be exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I could have raised that question.
Yeah.
I think my question is, do we need to wait until October to make
we can.
the decision, or we can identify one or two even now
Oh, okay, yeah. Then I agree. Then that one of the centerpieces would be common silicon initialization firmware or API, common APIs or unified APIs.
Yeah.
Platform configuration is also one point.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is awesome. Platform configuration. And to say it even more pedantically, it should be common platform configuration.
Yeah.
Right. Think about it. The part of the validation, right, that you can drive from a unified objective.
So what is the name you want to suggest to?
Unified platform configuration for validation or something like that.
Yeah, it could be, I mean, it could be validation is one aspect, right? It could be just configuring for hardware itself. So
yeah.
So chiplet firmware, and this is a general topic on the underneath, right? What need to be standardized, and unified platform configuration, unified silicon initialization. So this is the last one here. Is that it's general OSF discussion here, right? It's not really a separate work stream underneath, right? Work stream, what I heard is you need to have a clear objective of what need to be accomplished.
So yeah, two things, right? For our platform configurations, I think Srini, as you mentioned, right? How do we standardize that so that whether it is different vendors or at a platform level, how do we standardize? Again, the mechanics, like which tools or which interfaces we use, that could be outcome of that, right? The platform configurations.
Yeah, two things we can do is, one is how do we do this configuration, right? That is one. Another two is, but I don't know whether we can standardize it or not. What we can configure that seems to be different for each silicon vendor, so we cannot standardize that part of it, right? Maybe ARM
No,
vendor.
definitely not. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is it.
Yeah, so here it's a mechanism through which how do we provide this data binary blob or whatever it is. How do we create this binary blob? Something we should standardize, because right now it's too different for everybody. Is every silicon vendor, there's no what you call, no standardization at all. Maybe we can do YAML or some other way we can define. Then what goes inside could be can change from one silicon vendor to another, but we can have a interface like VFI. If you think about it in terms of EFI, think about like a VFR, right? How do we do a common one here? That is what I at least in my mind I'm thinking about.
So, Shni, the other one along the lines, right? The VFR is a good one, IFR, VFR, right?
But yeah, I'm just
also
giving
the
an example,
redfish,
but it's not what we want really. VFR is too complicated.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. Just
No,
I
I'm
gave
just
an
saying
example.
from standardization perspective,
Yeah.
right? Is like, would redfish be part of that, right? Like standardizing through that schemas and all. Not necessarily you define the actual things, but let's say, hey, for memory, this is the schema, but underneath each vendor has their own ways or things that needs to be customized, right? So flexibility could be underneath, but at least on a high level, hey, are we configuring PCI, or are we configuring that grouping? Maybe from that level we can start, and again we can see where it goes.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. You are talking. Yeah. Both we can do that one also. Yeah. Correct. You are saying in runtime, how do we send the configuring data, push the configuring data to multiple platforms, right? So that is, Redfish can do that. And another one is
that's a good point, right? One is runtime versus one is static, right? Like
static. Yeah.
Platform, correct. And those are two sub
when you are
aspects.
building the image, how do we do it? That is one. And two, what you are talking about is how do we change it on a runtime out of band? Yeah. Both should be, both are good topics to be discussed.
So is that course under platform configurations part?
Yes, and what I was thinking is that also should align with the couple of the chiplet and the silicon initialization naturally, right? Because that's like that will align to that work streams also.
Yeah, it's a sub-component underneath, right? I mean, unified
Yeah,
platform
we will
configuration is
discuss
overarching.
more on the platform configurations,
Right.
Sammy,
Right.
but again, that will align or be used by the other two work streams, right, or consumed.
So I think we're at high level, if we can align on what is the interface flows at high level, then you can say like silicon instances need to do this one, and the chiplets need to be doing maybe another set of it, right? Then we can bring it back and make sure that there is alignment there, right? But we do need some set of people working on this unified platform config so that it's consistent across OCP platforms, right?
Yep.
So another way to look at it is, right, whether say for example OpenCell is consumed by multiple implementation, firmware implementation. One is UEFI, one is core boot, maybe something else, right? But how do we send the configuration? How do we configure this OpenCell? Because OpenCell needs some input to it. So how do we send that one? That's what really we want to configure, and it should be same whether you are using different type of firmware implementation. Shouldn't matter, it should still work. But right now it is too complicated. Everybody has their own way of doing it. That is what we want to solve. Our project Mu, whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. Okay. What about the device firmware? Do we want to have a stream for devices, or do we want to leave it up?
I think that is a fallout of that. A device firmware. I mean, what we are primarily concerned is the host, right? The initialization of the host processor, right? And then when we get into the chiplet space, it's the interfacing firmware on the chiplet that could potentially be standardized.
Yeah,
So
I
I think
think the same, Raj, is like the chiplet will eventually lead to device firmware or part.
Yeah.
so we want to say device firmware is underneath the chiplet firmware.
Yeah.
And the one more thing is about the firmware updates, right? At least in whether we call it data centers versus different segments, right? Is there a focus that deserves a specific work group?
That's a good one. I think we could look into standardizing the device firmware upgrades.
And do we want to have a general firmware updates itself as a work stream, and we could have a device firmware underneath? I mean,
device system firmware all under that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then
because the few focus areas within that, right? Again,
Right.
as part of the naturally security versus resiliency and recovery, those things, right? So is there an opportunity, because every firmware, right, has their own ways of doing things, and if we can at least have a guideline or align in the long term, that would be.
So then if we take this view, I assume every different work stream need to come up with what is need to be standardized. Can we remove the standardization part of it?
Yeah, I think, maybe that's like open, Sammy, like we can keep an eye, like if it doesn't fit in these, is there a miscellaneous we can discuss and then decide if that qualifies for a dedicated work stream.
Yeah, still we can have a OPF calls, kind of monthly calls, right? Project calls, and underneath we can have bring the discussions under that, right?
Yep. Has anybody looked into the disaggregated data center use case models? I mean, this is under OCP though, the disaggregated data center, and there have been a few white papers that have been published as well. There seems to be an opportunity to, as an outcome of that disaggregated data center model, that essentially requires. I'm not sure if folks are aware of what a disaggregated data center is.
You're talking about disaggregated data center or disaggregated firmware?
No, disaggregated data center.
What does that mean?
Okay, so you know how we have these all these servers that have GPUs, CPUs, a lot of memory on them, and then you can rent out a certain slice of that server to tenants, right? Like X amount of CPU, X amount of GPU, X amount of memory, X amount of storage, right? So you rent it out to a tenant. Now, as a result of doing that to a single server, when you keep on renting out slices, you are left with a certain portion that cannot be rented out because it's just not sufficient enough. But it is significant enough that it kind of wastes, or that resource, either CPU, GPU, memory, storage, whatever have you, right? Now,
So
what the data
standard
center,
resources, basically standard resources, right?
yeah, those resources are now wasted because they cannot be utilized. There are some finite amount of resources that do not cut the requirement that are requested by the tenants. So what the disaggregated data center calls out for is that instead of putting all these resources in one server, right? Let's put one resource in one server, the other resource in other server, the third resource in the third server. Like for example, you have a CPU server, right? So it only provides the CPU workhorse or workloads, right? The other one is sourcing your GPUs. The third one is sourcing your memory. And so now if a tenant needs a certain CPU power, certain GPU power, and certain memory power, it basically goes and gets it from all these different servers, right? And so now you have a much better utilization of the resources. So similarly, so just like how you have your CPU server, GPU server, memory server, storage server, you also have your firmware server. So what I'm trying to get to is that all these different servers, the CPU, memory, storage, GPUs, these no longer have the firmware residing in the platform. The firmware is residing in the firmware server. So how do you boot? You basically go out to the firmware server. It's either you go out to the firmware server and request it, or as soon as maybe a node or something, that the node manager, it probably it turns on the CPU server, for example, and then it connects the firmware server to the CPU server, and the firmware is pushed into this rack, right, and then it boots up. Now that requires you to standardize your firmware architecture, your firmware image architecture, if you will. And since I think most of us are aware of what IFV is, integrated firmware image, which is collection of all these firmwares, so that IFV will now need to be standardized. Right, the architecture will need to be standardized. Whether the CPU server is based on AMD, whether it is based on Intel, it is based on ARM. For this disaggregated data center model to work, the IFE architecture needs to be standardized.
So you're basically calling out the remote boot or flashless boot.
That's a flashless boot. That is correct.
Right. I think
Right, which is a push model, not a pull model.
correct.
Right. So in order for this to work, and you have to assume that it's a unified model where your this node manager is talking to these platforms, and the firmware server does not need to it does not need to know the architecture, the host silicon that is executing on a certain node. So it simply pushes the appropriate IFE, which is standardized, and that gets consumed or booted up by that particular CPU server or a memory server or a storage server.
Yeah, I think it's not really a flashless boot. You could still have a flash, basically like remote boot, right?
Whatever
It's
you
not-
call
Could that be
not-
more also, or maybe part of that is the impactless update, right?
No. Impactless update, Giri, is where your system is already booted up, and now you want to
Okay.
you want to update a certain section of your firmware that is already running. Now you don't want to incur a reboot after you update it. So what you do is you jam in the updated firmware and simply switch to that in the runtime.
Yeah, in the runtime, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I meant to say like, yeah, that could be another subtopic under firmware updates, right?
Sure.
Giri, Raj, why firmware server? What problem it is solving?
It is solving the aggregated data center problem of fragmentation, right? So the cloud service providers are requesting ways to, and this is under OCP, by the way, and that includes Google and others. So what they're asking for is that we would like to boot, but there should not be any flash on your platform. So how do you do that? So you basically have these high-speed interconnects connected to all these different servers, like a CPU server, a GPU server, a memory server, storage server, firmware server. They are all connected, with each other with high-speed interface. And so you basically get the entire firmware gets pushed into these servers at the time. So
DCSM also has some solution to it, right? See, if you have, because that's what I thought they are planning to do, moving all the flash part to the DCSM card,
I think
then you have
that I think if having a firmware server drives the cost down as well.
Okay.
Right.
I think there's two things, right? It's probably like a standard thing is orchestration problem, right? I think there's few other advantages on a remote boot, right? There's some security and some reliability and other things coming into the picture here, right? It's in addition to the
and then that is true. And when it gets pushed in the data center, when it gets pushed into the platform, I'm not sure if the contents of that firmware, the contents of the firmware in the firmware server, they are verified, right? So I think and since the high speed interconnects, they are encrypted and whatnot. When they receive the firmware, it gets assumed that it has been verified, and you don't have to re-verify it all over again. Although they can choose to re-verify everything, but that also drives the performance.
It's interesting, Raj, but interesting. But where is this being discussed somewhere? Already?
Under OCP. I'll send you guys. There's a white paper
link
that was published. There was
please.
a white paper. I'll send it out to you guys.
I think
very
if you go
interesting.
to the security project, I think there is flashless boot in presented in the last
Yeah.
OCP, the regional summit and previous regional summit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think it is called flash/boot.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, you may be right. And the model of this operation is called the disaggregated data center model.
Okay.
Yeah, I
mean,
think there was a
it's
name
it's a very
change on that. I believe flashless was meaning real flashless, but I believe there is another name. I believe
Mhm.
we can look at it.
Yeah. So I'll send the link to the to that white paper, or I'll just send the white paper to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Raj. Yeah, okay. I got
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
I mean, the
so I think-
future the future looks very, very interesting, though.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes.
So,
Yeah, I think
all
what
right. Yep.
just for close, right? I think what we need to do is we need to start expanding on the description on these things. Start thinking about what need to be accomplished for each one, so that it gets some clarity, and start thinking who will be kind of leading that and getting it done, right?
Yep.
Again, it's an initial thought. Please think about it more, and let us probably in the next meeting us have a little more further discussion on these things and start expanding on it. Again, you need to have a clear actionable items what they really need to accomplish, and need to put some timeline there here too. Right?
Agree.
Okay. Any other things, Tim? Not, we can give it 3 minutes back. Thank you, Tim. We'll talk to you
Right.
2 weeks from now.
Thank you
Thanks.
for your leadership, Sammy. Bye for
Oh,
now.
thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Have a good rest of the day and the rest of the week. Thank you. Bye.